All right, let's just dive right in. I have had this Orion Knives Cetus for a couple weeks now, give or take. Um, and yeah, spoiler alert, I really like it. So we'll dive into why that is. What you get here is you get a cardboard box with a foam cutout, and you get the knife and two pocket clips. And let's talk about why. Because somehow during the manufacturing, it was always intended to be reversible. However, in the manufacturing, this cutout here is a little bit wider than the cutout here. Minimally, but David, the owner of Orion Knives and designer, didn't want to send it out this way, so he came up with a new clip. It's identical. It's just ever so slightly thicker so that there was no chance of it wobbling back and forth in that cutout. Even with the two screws, it wouldn't have really wobbled. So there's maybe more to the story, but that's what I'm taking from it. And, I would have just sent them out. But I get it. Being a little OCD, a little perfectionism myself on certain things. Obviously not my videos because, well, if you've been watching, they're not perfect. But these are great knives. Is it perfect for me? If it was up to me, I would like a slightly stronger detent. Personal preference. On this particular model, the gold colored backspacer, Black would have been my preference, but that's okay. That's a minor thing. Other than those two items, I pretty much love this knife. It's like $75. They do come in different colors. This is black with OD green. There is just an all stainless version. There is one with wood inlay, and I don't remember the brand of wood, the model of wood, the species of wood. It's some weird thing, ambrosia, ambidun, some. Again, don't care. It's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one anyway. They do have one with carbon fiber, but it didn't have. You can go. There'll be links down below to David's channel, to the Orion website, to his linked Instagram, all that stuff. Blade Banter is who he is. So let's talk about this $75 budget knife. I think it's awesome. They did the clip perfectly well. Recessed countersunk screws. And all in all, it's a great package. Couple things to note. It does have some oil residue here that just hasn't come off yet. And what I'm going to need to do is take the screws out, move the overlay out, and then clean that up. It did come kind of soaked in oil from the manufacturer. So this is OEM'd overseas by an OEM I had not heard of before. Doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's called DAV Gear, D-A-V Gear. I had not heard of them before. But they did a fantastic job. The backspacer might be slightly out of alignment. It's a little bit proud here, and it's a little bit shallow over here. It's probably hard to pick up on camera, but it is a little bit wonky. But as I take the scales apart, I'll just tweak that. Probably by loosening things up, it'll just rock back in place. No big deal. It's a $75 knife. If you want to rotate the pocket clip, you can, easy enough. I dig it. I did do a video of it right when I got it, of it slicing the paper towel tube, and it did fantastic, way better than I thought. And then I did a video, that was a short video, and then there's another YouTube short of me batoning it through a 2x4. That's where you see some of these marks here. The tip kind of hit the cinder block as it went through the 2x4, but it survived. It's not chipped. It's got some wear marks on it, but it's still sharp. It's 14C, so I can easily have Alex resharpen it for me because I don't do sharpening, as I've talked about a number of times. But it is still usable and relatively sharp. Okay. Oftentimes, and we talked about this a little bit before, that you need to, like, a factory edge is good, but it's going to pretty much dull fairly quickly. And then you need a 2 or 3 sharpenings. In talking to some professional sharpeners and stuff, you really need 2 or 3 sharpenings before it's really going to get the edge that's going to be permanent and hold. Because the initial edges, when they sharpen these at the factories, they're sharpening them on a grinder, belt sander, whatever, and it's really heating it up. And you need to really knock off that heat tempering, maybe is the wrong words, and then it's going to really hold the edge longer after the initial couple of sharpenings. From what I understand, I'm not a sharpening guy, but that's just my experience. I like how the blade is slightly curved in. It really gives you the ability to get in and do some tight cutting, whereas a standard bladed knife, which we'll just use the VC Edge one here, the tip is above your hand. So to get tight, you have to really angle it in more to get to. So in certain cutting tasks, this is just going to be much easier because you don't have to angle as much to get the tip into position to work. The other cool thing about this is the owner, the maker, the designer, really, not a maker, David. He is, I don't know if he was the first, but he was one of the first, if not the first, YouTube reviewer turned knife designer. And there's been several since. I've got this guy over here from Devo Knives, Lefty EDC, knife reviewer turned knife designer. You got Jim Skelton, who turned YouTube reviewer into knife maker and then knife designer. And the distinction for me is a knife designer just designs it and has somebody else make it. They have no hand in the making process. Other than, yes, they get a prototype. They say, I don't like this. I don't like that. There's some of that aspect, of course. They have their hand in the process, but they're not making anything. Jim Skelton makes them in his garage. I mean, he's got a shop, but he makes them himself with a hammer and chisels and grinders and forges and things like that. That's the distinction between a designer and a maker. Of course, the maker has to first design it and then make it. So yeah, there you go. All right, let's talk about a little bit of the specs on this thing. The action on this thing is fantastic. Runs on bearings and it has broken in so nice. This thing is, I know you can't feel that, but it is so smooth, like just enough resistance so it's not drop shut, but it is so satisfyingly smooth. It's crazy. It's just a hair over 4.5 inches closed, 8 inches overall, 3.71 inch blade with a 3.3 inch cutting edge. Blade thickness is 0.123. Behind the edge is 0.027. Weighs in at 4.4 ounces, which is fine by me. 0.572 overall thickness minus the clip. Now, I would have preferred, I think, thumb stud as opposed to thumb hole. It works fine, but I kind of have to bring my thumb in extra to get to the hole. Whereas a thumb stud right about there would have worked better for me as a personal preference. The flipper tab works totally fine as well. Again, slightly stronger detent if it was Dirk's world and Dirk got to design or tweak the knife to his exact preferences. Slightly stronger detent. Here we go with the Devo knives. This is the stout. This, I believe, was his very first design and first model. And I'm going to do a video on this shortly. I haven't yet. Spoiler alert, the blade shape kind of bothers me. It's just odd looking, kind of platypus-ish look. I don't know, but pretty cool freaking knife. This was lent in from EDC for fun. This one's pretty cool. We'll talk about that in a different video, but here it is with the Sharpie, your Spider Codelica, and the other budget knife, kind of one of my favorite budget knives, the Kubi KB237. Very similar in design and whatnot. Let me touch on the materials of this again in just a second. This is like $50, $45, $50, $75. I'm not saying one is too cheap and one is too expensive. I'm just saying they're different. I don't know. This is G10 and D2. So you're getting a good bang for your buck here at $45, $50 for sure. This one here is 14C. You have G10 scales, steel lock bar side, and aluminum show side. Was a design choice. Maybe it was a cost choice. You can't tell the difference. You cannot tell the difference between the aluminum side and the steel side unless you're really looking and trying to understand. I have no problem with the construction of this thing at all. I think $75 is perfectly okay. Sure. Do we want things cheaper? Always. Who doesn't want something for less than what the price is? I mean, if this came in at $50, would he sell 100,000 more of them? I don't know. Do I think it's in that 50 to 75 range? Yes. Could it be a little cheaper? Could the house I'm looking at buying be cheaper? Could every knife I own be cheaper? That's subjective. I'm not one to set the price on things. I don't think it's outrageous. I think it's in line with what you're getting. I think it's a cool knife. I think it has some options in colors and all of that. And so you can get the variety and the materials that you like. Please go check them out. I think they're pretty cool. Let me know down below if you've got any questions, comments, anything like that. I'll put a link. Hopefully I can put links to my shorts over here. Go check them out. It was kind of fun. Yeah, and it'll take you like 20 seconds each. So why not just go watch?